Hello and good day everyone. I am Divan A. Montes from BS Ed Math 3A, and in our subject Ethics, I will report about the Unit 4, Lesson 3, which is about autonomy. At the end of this lesson, we will be able to contrast autonomy with heteronomy and compare rational will with animal impulse or choice, or which we call arbitrium brutum. But first, let us discuss and define what is autonomy. Autonomy comes from Greek word autos, which means self, and nomos, which means law. Thus, autonomy means self-law or self-legislating. Autonomy is also defined as subject to the law. The word subject comes from the Latin word sub, which means under, plus the Latin word jacere, which means to throw. Thus, subject to the law means to be under the law and must abide and comply with the law. Autonomy, which means subject to the law, can also be defined as to impose such law on themselves out of the enactment of the will to follow the law. Autonomy is a property of the will only during instances when the action is determined by pure reason. On the other hand, heteronomy. Heteronomy comes from Greek word heteros, which means other, and nomos, which means law. Thus, heteronomy means other law. The simple legislation and imposition of a law by an external authority. One of the great examples in comparing or to contrast heteronomy from autonomy is when we brush our teeth. Back when we were a child, we were under the law of our parents, or we are always being reprimanded for us to brush our teeth, which is sometimes against our will because as a child it is kind of bothering if we brush our teeth. Compared when we were an adult, that we are not unto someone's law or we are not being said to brush our teeth. We did that in our own purpose. So in that case, we can say that when we were a child, in brushing our teeth while we were reprimanded by our parents, that can be a heteronomy. And when we were adult, that we can brush our teeth on our own without anyone's will, that can be said as autonomy. When the action is determined by sensible impulses, either external impulse or foreign impulse, it is considered heteronomous. Next, we will talk about the animal impulse or choice, or which we call arbitrium brutum. Choices and or actions that is determinable either sensible impulse or stimulus. Animal impulse is affected by sensible impulse, some like bodily instincts and desires, like the urge to drink, eat, sleep, or having sexual intercourse, and emotions and sentiments like jealousy, anger, and pain felt. To simply say, these are the choices or actions that being made because of what we feel, or maybe it is a nature for us to do. Not just the animals, but also human have this impulse, for they also feel the immediacy to sensible impulses. However, as human that has a higher thinking capacity than the animals, we can think first before we act. Next, we have here the rational will. Rational will is to be rational when being affected by the impulses. This is the capacity of reason to intervene, to meditate within arbitrium brutum. A person can break the immediate act of stimulus and reaction by stopping to deliberate and assess possible alternative actions. Actions include opening up, or whether when you orient your actions toward an overall aim that you aspire for. We are indeed basically animals, but we cannot be reduced to mere animality. As the quote says, the human person is not just an animal, but is also rational. Therefore, our actions can be caused by sensible impulses, like in arbitrium brutum, and the faculty of reason, which is the human freedom. To simply say, we humans can also be affected by these sensible impulses, but the difference is we can think and deliberate before we act in order for us to have a better action. One of the trends in social media is the conscience-clear Mima Utlum, where he gets the unattended phone and claims that hindi masama ang aking ginawa, for he believed that it's not considered as stealing.
Ang definisyon ng magnanakaw ay papasok sa isang establishmento at walang abog-abog ay magbubuklat at kukuha ng mga bagay na nasa pribado na lugar. Pero ang nangyari po sa akin, ako po ay nasa labas ng tindahan, hindi po ako pumasok. Nakita ko lamang ang cellphone na ito sa ibabaw ng pasimano at ito po ay aking kinuha. Hindi po masama ang aking ginawa dahil ang aking pong konsyensya ay clear. Buong puso po ako na humihingi ng inyong tawad. Ako po ay tao na nagkakamali din. Pero malinaw po ang aking konsyensya.
What Mima Utlum thinks is that he is entitled to benefit or to have the phone. Thus, can it be called autonomy, as its definition of autonomy is self-legislating? In getting the phone, not stealing it, it is still under Mima Utlum's own mind that he will get the phone, as it is still self-legislating. Is it still considered as autonomy or autonomous? But according to the definition of heteronomy, Mima Utlum would not be acting autonomously. It is mainly because his decision or action is being based or affected by sensible impulse, which is, it is his desire to get that phone or to own that phone. Therefore, Mima Utlum did not act autonomously, but rather heteronomously. In conclusion, heteronomy occurs when any impulse, whether foreign, external, or sensible, is what compels a person to act. In contrary, autonomy is the property in those instances only when pure reason is the cause of action. Now, do you have any questions related to my report? Hearing none, then that's the end of my presentation for today. I hope you learned something in this lesson, and I hope you had listened carefully. Thank you and God bless.